everyone. Welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. I'm here with my very special guests, Keith Hahn and Aaron Cahall, once again to talk more BattleTech BattleTech playtest stuff. So I'm excited to hear how that's going and what's coming next. Just so you guys know, we did have directors meeting this week. Just today, so any news that I can answer from that, I'm happy to, if you guys have questions. But in the past week or so, we haven't had Randall, Bryn, or Mike because of Essen. They're all over in Europe, which is super fun. Apparently, I do know. Here's some news: Mike Ritchie got bitten by a pony.
Did he bite it back?
I haven't heard the story yet. I just saw a picture of the pony looking sassy, so I'm pretty excited to hear this story and tease him about it. So,
Aspen is way ahead of Gen Con then in features offered to attendees.
Yeah, right? That's going to be the new event, Bite Mike Ritchie. But I'm pretty excited to talk about the playtest. In board game news, while I'm thinking of it, tomorrow is the drop for the long-awaited Quincy's Tavern collaboration board game, which is Guardians of the Four Winds. And there will be a couple of swag items too. I'm not sure which ones are ready to drop with it, so I'm not going to say anything in case I'm wrong. But Guardians will be live on the store, and if you are curious of play, it's like very simple mechanics but deep on strategy, like a lot of our games are. So we do have several playthroughs that you can watch here on our channel if you look up Quincy or Guardians of the Four Winds from Gen Con. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see how that's done. We're doing more with Quincy next year. We got to playtest at Alliance Open House. We playtested Barkeep's Bones, which is fun. You get to smash mugs and make a lot of noise with dice in the mugs, and it's really fun to shake it up. And yeah, so super excited for that. In terms of releases, for those that don't know, we have a new sales manager that started a couple of weeks ago, and he's kind of redoing, along with Talon, figuring out logistics and when we can expect stuff to come in. There's a lot of reprints in process too, so they're kind of redoing the entire release schedule. So I opened it up to take a look at it and give you guys hints on news on what's coming, and I'm like, oh boy, I cannot give news on what's coming because I don't know. It looks like a bomb went off in that. So that I don't have much on. So it's a little bit of a chaotic time here as we're getting organized for the new year. But I do have one more thing. I saw during tech today, we just got approvals from Toho on our social media marketing package for promoting My Hero Academia miniatures game. So you'll be seeing a lot of social media posts and fresh graphics and info coming out over the next several weeks. So I think that's most of what I've got. So let's get started. Hi Keith, hi Aaron, how are you guys?
Good, thank you. I'm actually really intrigued by the idea of what I thought initially might be a Quincy ME game, and was disappointed.
Oh.
That license has to be available.
It's got to be like, yeah, little Jack Klugman's running around. Oh man, that would be awesome. All right.
Yeah, I am pretty excited with his like, just people get excited seeing him. Like we were on stage and people would be like, so I'm pretty excited with his following. He has millions of TikTok followers, so should be pretty fun. So Keith, kind of catch us up to speed for those who haven't joined us before. What are the first two parts of the playtest that have been out already? So kind of walk us through that and how feedback has gone. What have you seen come in?
So they're staggered series running for 6 weeks, but there's some overlap. So there's a new one coming every 4 weeks, sort of thematically aligned. We tried to put a bunch of similar, at least closely related sort of changes in single packages. We're not testing literally every change we're looking to make because it's just too many, and some of them we feel pretty confident about. But the first package was looking at survivability, things that affect how easy it is to destroy or degrade a battle mech. And the second package, mobility, stuff that's affecting movement, falling down, getting back up, that sort of thing, terrain, all the sort of related. And it's been going well. We're getting a lot of feedback. It's been very helpful. Every around midnight, I get the packaged email with the latest batch of playtest reports people have been submitting. I mean, you can post all over the internet, and I may or may not see it, but you post on the playtest forums we've set up specifically for this purpose. Everything gets read, and there's a form there. You can submit it, go through that, submit your results, your feedback, your opinions, and I go through that and get a feel for how things are going. Issues we hadn't considered, but just generally, do people like it or not? One thing that's easy to lose track of when you're designing rules, when you're purely focused at rules, is you get focused on, okay, does this deliver good gameplay results in my opinion? But there is a certain degree of just, look, it doesn't matter if it's a good rule. If no one likes it, it's a bad rule. You have a good, bad rule. So to some degree, this is also a popularity contest. But overall, it's been going really good. We're getting really solid feedback, and first 2 are out, and now today, the 3rd one, and the sort of out of sequence 5th, 3 5s drops today.
Cool. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the rule changes in 1 and 2, and then we're going to dive into 3 with all the new stuff you're playtesting.
Well, the first one, we were looking at a change to how attacks land by sort of bringing the concept of flanking. You get around to a mech side, you can concentrate damage better. That's proving, I think it's pretty safe to say it's proving overly lethal right now. The feedback has been pretty consistent. After the first 3 weeks or so, it kind of settled into a general feeling of it does what it's supposed to do, but maybe too much so. I'm looking at ways to dial that back, but there's still discussions that have to be done with that. And there's still more feedback coming, even if not through the official forums, because that aspect is closed. People are still talking about it elsewhere, so we're still going over that. I get the feeling that one is probably a bit overtuned, but we'll see how that goes. Then there's the ammo explosion one, which is trying to get something that doesn't utterly annihilate a mech as soon as ammo goes off. Because right now it hits, it goes up, you're almost certainly dead unless you have a couple pieces of gear. So we're looking at ways to make that so it's a little more, it hurts, you don't want it, but it's survivable. Like in a lot of current battle mech critical hits, you take it, you feel it, you regret getting it, but you're not just out of the game, with some exception. Obviously, cockpit hits are still there. That one, feeling I'm getting for that is, well, we picked an arbitrary number for the explosion value. And if it was too low, it wouldn't hurt enough. If it was too high, it gets rid of too many mechs. So we picked something that we felt was kind of a good middle ground, but there's still a sort of a complaint. Shift around a bit. There's still a sort of complaint that it still hurts light mechs too much and still is maybe too gentle on heavy mechs. We're going to debate that as well. Like all of these things, some of them are, that just doesn't work. Cut it. Some of them, though, okay, concept works. Maybe we need to tune a bit. Move this back, move this up, add this rule, remove that caveat, whatever. So with those two, I'd say that's kind of where we're at looking at that.
Okay. Okay.
And then the second one is much more granular. The second package is a whole bunch more changes. A lot of them are a lot smaller scale. I wouldn't really be able to go into them on a piece by piece basis. I'd say broadly they're working, but there's some fiddliness with deciding what immobility really means as a rule status, which is something BattleTech has always kind of struggled with. We tried to define it in a different way, and that raised different definitional issues. So we're trying to get something that's intuitive, but also doesn't penalize stuff, because you can do something that's just obviously, I don't know, for lack of a better word, realistic, and then go, well, okay, that's well and fine, but it makes for terrible gameplay. We need to start adding the caveats to make it so it's an interesting game, because it's a game first, and a simulator second. So I think we're on good ground there too, but again, more tweaking, more playing around with. Some stuff might not make it, some stuff will make it, but not in the same form you're seeing in the playtest packet.
So Aaron, what is your involvement at this point, and how do you think the feedback is going?
I mean, mostly I'm preparing the survey questions and just trying to keep things moving, editing some of the content, mostly, just trying to make sure we hit deadlines on things. But Keith's really been the leading light as far as diving into the feedback, issuing updates to some of the packets for anyone who might have downloaded that on day one and not looked back. There are update packets that have been going out with clarifies certain language, things that have come up, kind of day one questions. So I would encourage everyone just to keep an eye out for those and make sure that, before you sit down some Saturday to test the new rules, that you do have the most updated packet. They're not coming out a lot. It's maybe once or twice per cycle. So we're not updating like daily, but it is worth just keeping an eye on that. As far as I can tell, the feedback is doing what we want it to do. It's tricky, I think, to negotiate, to what Keith was just saying a minute ago, negotiating the what makes for good gameplay versus the feedback based in, well, this is how I know how to play BattleTech. And we recognize we're changing what a lot of enfranchised players know. So there's a little bit, I think, of separating some of that out. I don't know if Keith would agree with that, but for me, at least reading it, of trying to triangulate, is this rooted in, this is new and it slowed me down because I'm not used to it, or is there an actual real gameplay issue here?
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. There was the side table change is the best example of that. The opinions on that swung wildly as time went by, and you could almost see new metas dropping continually. It's like, oh wait, no, this is too easy. No wait, that's too hard. No, actually, no, wait a minute, it's overpowered.
I think I look at it as it's the good side and the bad side of having players and play testers in this case who have so much experience with the game, in that they can provide valuable feedback. They can certainly get to that new meta that Keith just described very quickly. They sort of intuitively can understand the effects that these rules changes would have, but they come with emotional attachment. They have played the rules as they are for a long time. So and that's okay. It's not, I'm not saying that we only want to hear from brand new folks, but it does create, as we evaluate, as we do the analysis part, I think it does create, it's sort of a good and a bad, right? We get very good, very detailed, very thoughtful feedback. And some of it, we have to kind of separate out is this somebody who thinks the game genuinely wasn't fun because of this rule, or the game is fine, but it's just not what I know, so I didn't like it very much.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's invalid. Your feelings are certainly valid, but again, we have to try and put BattleTech gameplay in the best place it can be.
Well, and I think too, it makes me think of restoration games where one of their goals is to bring back these games or create new ones that have that feeling of nostalgia, like that feeling when you claimed Australia in Risk, things like that. How did that feel, and how do you replicate that? And so since BattleTech has only been tweaked, there have been no new additions. It's also important to keep that that feeling to those special moments. So for sure.
It's an interesting comparison because if you think, when you mention something like that, I think of most notably something like old school Renaissance design for specifically with D&D, where D&D still existed as a name and as a brand, but in no way resembles, except for certain labels, what it was played like in the late 1970s. It's like, oh, there are elves, okay, but the game does not play anything like it now. So when you make a game that tries to harken back to something like that, you are really focused in some ways on a feeling and a casting back to what was it like back then, and maybe some rose-colored glasses, maybe not. Some people still play that actively and always have. But with BattleTech, it's a little different in that it's a living, breathing thing, and it has this continual unbroken line going back to the 80s. So the people who play it, I mean, there's new tech, there's new expansions, but it hasn't really evolved out of the thing that it was.
Right.
It has grown, but that fundamental gameplay is still there, and so we have to be careful we're not transforming that aspect too much, or just going off of. We can't rely on feel as much either. I'd say.
To say for somebody to say I played D&D in 1984 is a different statement than I played BattleTech in 1984.
Yes, very much so.
Both can be true, but what that means, what that looks like at the table, I mean, and this is coming from I play Dungeon Crawl Classics. I enjoy it. I mean, I'm just
that's an excellent example. Yeah,
I'm just old enough to have the vibe to pass the vibe check for some of those games, but these are people who have seen the rules evolve. Not from edition to edition of, okay, that edition is gone, here's the new, but to see the tweaks, right? I mean, how many people I've seen post stuff like, comparing it to when we changed partial cover. And I used the royal we there because it was, 30 years ago, 35.
You mean you yourself are not responsible for that, Aaron?
No, I don't like to date myself, but I was not involved in games design.
At that point, cool.
Oh, middle school at that point.
All right, well, that brings us to where we are now. So, new playtest dropped yesterday, right?
Early today.
Early today. So, what are people looking at with this one?
Well, it's gear, so it's the equipment, specifically the equipment that we can change, which is one thing by itself, that we feel needs changing, and that we feel on top of that needs testing of those changes, because there's some stuff we just can't touch, right? I mean, our sort of remit was don't break the game, and by break in this case, I mean break backwards compatibility, which means don't break record sheets. Now, all the classic guns in BattleTech, the original bunch, are collections of stats, and those stats appear in record sheets, so you can't change them. You could add game rules to them, which we did there's one of the test proposals is something for autocannons to say if you apply a hit to it, the first one's ignored. That's a game rule you can layer on top of an existing weapon, because game rules don't appear on record sheets. But you can't actually change the stats, so a lot of weapons are just off limits in large numbers of ways. So we're mostly looking at the newer generation of gear, and I mean even newer, it's still 20 years old maybe, or about 20 to 25 years old. It's Total Warfare, TAC Ops, and Interstellar Operations, because those pieces of equipment came with a lot of game rules text. They weren't just collections of stats. They had all the often quite long blocks of text, trying to make them stick out from the crowd, because by that point, all of the different iterations of let's move the basic stat numbers around had largely been done. So we need to start writing rules, and the rules give us the opportunity to play with things, because some of them were, I mean, it's natural when you're making a new rule, you want to err on the side of caution, unless you're doing like a play test like this, right? Then you can be bolder, because if something goes wrong, you're like, okay, well, fine, we'll fix that or pull that. But when something is going right into a book and it's going out in print to everybody, you don't want to get crazy and make it overpowered. So the tendency is to make them underpowered, err on the side of caution. So it's definitely some of these items came out as being a bit hit too hard by the Nerf bat. We can look at them. In some cases, we can actually make the weapon easier to use, this piece of equipment, whatever, by removing some of those rules that made them quite weak. And so then they become simpler to play, but at the same time, people will actually want to play them. Whereas before, it's just like, oh, there's a lot of a text, and it's most of it's negative. I'm not touching this. It's a terrible one.
That's fair. Okay, so gear. And this... I can't remember. Has playtest packet 2, has that time frame ended yet? Because I know there was some overlap.
No, yeah, there's overlap. So that'll run for another 2 weeks.
Okay.
We'll still collect feedback on that. In this, there's always the packets come out every 4 weeks, but the actual test periods are 6, so roughly. So yeah, going along. You'll still be able to submit feedback on 2, but obviously now the flood has already begun for 3 and 5. Like we dropped 2 packets today, the sort of out of order one.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, we put in an extra one out here today. This is always one that's intended. It's bigger, so it we're kind of running it alongside some of the other ones. It won't shut down like the other ones. It'll run right to the end.
Okay.
because it's a whole game by itself, a sort of simplified aerospace combat rule set. It needs
Oh,
more
that's right.
testing than any one simple one change. It may be a big
Yeah.
change, but still be just one change. Aerospace is an entire rule set, so we definitely have to give that more time.
Yeah. So aerospace dropping today. What can people expect from that playtest packet other than aerospace?
Broadly, it fits in the same sort of scheme as the rest of Battlefield support, which is there's an audience that just plays mechs, and there's an audience that does full combined arms play. Give me all the rule sets. I mean, some people will just like, no, I only play full rules, infantry, and vehicles, maybe, and add that on there. But still, mostly you've got mechs and then guys who like a lot of other stuff. Battlefield support as a concept in general is sort of something to fit in a gap, which is I only play mechs now. I'd be willing to try some of those other things if they were easier to use, if they were shorter, if they matched more mech gameplay so that I didn't have to learn too many new concepts. I like the flavor, but I'm not interested in learning whole new rule sets. So along those lines, Battlefield support aerospace is here's something more than how to put it. Right now in the Battle Mech manual, there is a sort of version of space support, but all it is, as I refer to them, as flavored damage blobs. You take 10 damage. It was from an airplane. Well, okay. We could have said it was from a giant ocelot or whatever, but we call it aerospace, but it doesn't really have a lot of feel of air support other than the fact that you can kind of intercept it. You just say, I paid X points to intercept it. It goes away. We want something a little more involved in that. There's definitely room between that and the full on many pages of full aerospace combat and Total Warfare. So that's where this kind of sits. It's much shorter than Total Warfare aerospace, much less complex. Hopefully people who previously shied away from combined arms and especially the aerospace versions will maybe look at this and go, okay, yeah, this is sufficiently complex that I'm able to bring it in. It feels rewarding, but I don't feel like I have to spend an enormous amount of time figuring it out, and maybe that turns me off.
And more importantly, what they can expect is something to do with their Visigoth and Shalom miniatures.
Yes.
It allows people to actually put miniatures on the map in a way that is not just decorative, that is functional. Well, because I know I say that because I played someone, Battle of the Bay here in Maryland back in June. Shout out to Steve, who used their Shalom miniature as a visual reminder, just on top of a random building, that they had a bombing card available to blow my tank and the interior infantry in it to hell with. So that's fine, but what Keith's rules do is allow you to actually place miniatures on the field. Range matters, distance to the target, opposing, intercepting fighters. All the ranges matter. They're not just decorative. Like, it's a flavored damage blob, but look, you can see the miniature it's ostensibly coming from. It actually does bring those miniatures into, and previous, of course, all the long line of pewter fighters and aerospace assets into a real game. As Keith said, you're not just playing, kind of a card game alongside your miniature game. It is a miniature game.
Right. Okay, so playtest packet 3 starts today and goes how long?
6 weeks. What have we got here? Should we see? We've got the.
You have the website up?
I do here. So yeah, it ends December 8th.
Okay.
And we'll probably run it an extra day because it came out a day late, so December 9th.
Okay.
So you've got plenty of time to submit stuff on that. And I mean, I'm still happy to talk about some of the individual changes if you'd like to go over that as well.
And then, yeah, please do.
And similarly, for aerospace specifically, that's running till the 5th. That's running alongside right to the end. Scenarios is the last packet that's coming out. It will end on the 5th as well. So at that point, the playtest phase closes, at least the public.
The 5th of December or?
5th of January.
Okay.
Yeah. So that'll run till January 5th. At that point, the forms close. The submission form closes, but you can still discuss things on the forums and that, and we'll still be monitoring feedback. It's just after a certain point, we have to stop collecting playtest data and start making final decisions.
He's being too kind. He's kind of become our Will Wheaton, where you can just add him and summon him. Not anymore, we'll stop doing that, but in an early part of the internet, you could pretty much summon him on Reddit. I think it was Reddit or other places. Keith has covered more ground in these last 8 weeks since this started than I think any BattleTech developer has ever covered in the community. And I mean, between all the Discord communities that you try and keep up with, the people on the forums, both sets of forums, all that. I mean, so for folks who say, what about the playtest data? What about the forums? That's only part of what I've seen Keith take in as far as responses, content, feedback, whatever, however you want to define. So there is a lot going in, a lot coming in from these packets, to say the least.
But all that to say also, even if you're engaging with Keith, if it's not in the forums, it's not in the official playtest feedback, correct?
I just can't make promises. That's how.
Yeah, I just don't want to,
I may see it in Discord, or I may not, because everything rolls off the screen in 5 minutes.
Please don't Instagram and Reddit and Facebook message and Blue Sky at Keith with your.
Well, I mean, I'll say I'm not following Facebook. Facebook is just
there you go.
one social media hellscape too far. I'm not doing it. And that's probably
That's where you draw the line.
You have to go to all these different places because the internet has fragmented. We've left behind the golden age of just everyone hung out in forums. So you got to go to different places where people actually are. But if you want to guarantee response, for me that I've seen it, put it on the test forum. I will I read every post for sure, no doubt. Everything else is hit and miss.
We can get his home address up there, Tyler. Can you put that on the bottom of the screen? Go ahead and knock on his door in person.
Snail mail, that's the way to do it.
Sure.
Winter is coming in Canada. Please trek up to our house.
Awesome. So we talked through the playtest, the dates. When is the 4th playtest launching?
That is end of next month. What is it? Starts November 24th.
Okay.
Yeah. So good. I have.
I'm gonna do something a little interesting here. I would like to talk more about both of you, how this project came to be and why, and the goal with the new book and stuff like that. But I do have to step away for an emergency real quick. So Tyler, I'm changing cameras on you. Sorry. If you guys can chat for just a minute.
Keith, hit us with some elevator music.
I have Slayer. Does that work?
What's that?
I can play Slayer. Does that work?
Perfect. Got some ace of spades up here somewhere. I mean, how it came to be, just a quick intro to that, I'd say I officially became assistant line developer in 2020, but I've been working with Ray pretty closely when he was ALD under Brent back to 2018, 2019. And I remember distinctly probably the first phone call we ever had. I was dropping my kid off or picking them up from daycare, which now they're in 5th grade, so it's had to have been at least 6 or 7 years ago. And, we talked a lot about Classic and kind of where it was, and I think landed in being pretty simpatico about what you wrote in the intro to the first 2 playtest packets, that it wasn't a game that needed that kind of deck clearing, sweep everything off and 2.0 approach. That it, yes, by modern game standards was a horse, but it could be not a car, but it could be made into a better, faster, more enjoyable horse.
We could bling out the horseshoes. Yeah.
No kidding. And I think coming out of that conversation, it really felt like you were the right person to head that up. And truthfully, it's been kind of in the water supply for a while. I know you've had, kind of informal work on this going back at least that far, if not farther. And as an actual kind of capital P project, even before it was on the calendar, it goes back 4 years or more as being basically once Ray became line developer, I think he understood the need for a new TW. The Mercs Kickstarter pushed that a little bit because that became all consuming. It was kind of in that lull between the first Kickstarter and the second where it really became it started really sort of coalescing that we need a new book, and that you were the right person to do it. So, I mean, how far back does it go for you trying to think of this stuff and make it better in a formal way?
In a formal way?
I mean, like as a, we're working on this to become a book and not just here's house rules.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit, there was a knowledge that it was coming for quite a while, but it was never a date attached to it. And that kind of makes it blurry for me right now, especially being in the middle of it. I would mention on the rules team for quite a while, I started saying, okay, we shouldn't be making this kind of big errata change now because eventually there's a new book coming. I've been told that it's happening. I don't know when, but maybe we should slow down the more radical changes for the 10th printing of Total Warfare or something, because let's save this for a new book instead of only a handful of people have it because everyone else has the 1st through 9th printings or something. But yeah, it must have been 3 or 4 years at least that I've known that there was something coming, but it took a while to coalesce into, okay, it's a real project, here's some dates, I want you to start writing chapters. It's formally assigned to someone. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know I was going to be placed in charge of it. So
that was probably August-ish, I think, where it kind of, hey, that thing you've been casually working on? I need you to like not so casually work on.
Yeah, now we pump it into high gear.
Now it has a date and some printing deadlines, and I know it's ideal. But there definitely was a point a couple years ago, as you say it, I'm remembering, where one of the things I think it came out of Alpha with Commander's Edition, where Joshua, who does great work on that system, had there sort of had to be a break point of at what point, and you've talked about this with Total Warfare, where the Total Warfare published in 2006 versus the one today are very different, and that we kept reprinting the same book and the same title, but the game was changing. And that I ran into a problem at one tournament where the second printing of a book my opponent had said, I think it was infantry cannot move after being dropped off in Alpha. But in the 6th edition I had, they can use half their movement. And we had 2 different books.
Yeah, that's a major gameplay
things. And it came up in a game where he was convinced he was right, and he was, based on the book he had, and I thought I was right, and I was. So that's where we first started to understand the idea of like edition versus printing, which seems obvious now in retrospect, but it was so incremental to understand that, it's not just a new printing, it is a new edition. We do need a new book, like a truly new product.
I mean, FASA back in the day, they would do, okay, it's compendium, and then, okay, compendium rules of warfare, BattleTech Master Rules revised. They would at least, even in some way, they change the art and stuff, and then you would be, hey, look, it's a new book. You can tell we've made some alterations, but no one is confused here. The rules changes are in a new set of, something, a discrete new product. Whereas now, I mean, to some degree though, and to be fair, the more BattleTech grew, the harder it became to look at it as something that was easily rebootable. And also BattleTech was in a trough for a while there where there was not a huge player base, there was not an enormous amount of resources to throw around to undertake a major reboot effort. It was busy trying to get books out the door and other things like that. So there was a lot of things against, even when it was recognized it would be nice if we could do a new book, there were other priorities. So it's right place, it's right time. The reasons were always there, but other things have changed too.
Sure.
Cool. Thank you guys for vamping for me. I do want to get to Q&A because there's a lot of good questions coming through for you guys. I do want to drop a few links into the chat as well, if my mods are ready. We do have, don't forget, BattleTech Gothic is out now, dropped at the beginning of this month. And then you can continue the story of Fox Patrol with Brian Young's Outfoxed. Just desperate mercenaries can make for some brutal enemies. And that's in the Gothic issue of Shrapnel. The October free BattleTech fiction, The Fox Marauders, a BattleTech Gothic short story by Brian Young, is available for free. And playtest packages 3 and 5, the link is going to be dropped in chat here. For Shadowrun, we've got Finish the Top Drek Quartet, with Never Enough by Marie Bilodeau. The band is back in town and they can't stay out of trouble. We've got Enjoy Diving into the Tombs of Egypt with this special Shadowrun Missions Legends two-parter, The Nile Gambit. Start with City Under the Sand and wrap up the adventure in Cave of Shadows. So there's 2 links to both of those missions. October free Shadowrun fiction is Calaveras and Chrome by Christopher D. Schmitz. So that's available now. And Shadowrun Anarchy 2.0 now has late pledges available. So if you missed the Kickstarter, but you still want to get in on it, you can go check it out.
And that's just what's available now. Talking about what Keith said about the slower times, that was like as much as we put out in a year during those slow times. I mean, it's a good time to be a fan.
Yay!
It's a lot of stuff.
And then we do some general announcements too. You can find some awesome free product from Catalyst, from adventures to activity books to game rules, all on the Catalyst web store. So that link is going to go in chat as well. Enjoy some horror-themed fiction from Catalyst this month for Halloween month. We have BattleTech and Shadowrun on offer. Don't forget to sign up for the My Hero Academia crowdfunding campaign. Like I said, more news is coming. And then also launching in February is Runefire, which is the new Pathfinder skin of the Shadowrun Crossfire and Dragonfire games. So those are coming to Kickstarter February 3rd. All right, let's get to questions, guys. So we've got Nicholas Callaghan asks, on playtest number 3, it lists the hit table for most physical weapons as, quote, option. Is this in reference to the existing -4 penalty to hit on punch or kick, or is this a new rule?
Yeah, it's just a copy and paste of the BattleTech manual table. If you have the manual, you just flip to the physical combat section. It's that table. So yeah, that's
okay, cool. Kalos's gaming table asks, reading through playtest packet 3, there are some hints that floating crits are assumed to be standard. Is this the case? Can you comment? Am I reading too much into this?
We're still looking at floating crits.
Okay.
There's a strong argument for it. There's also will almost certainly be included in some form, but maybe we leave it optional. That's one of those things where we got to massage it still. We're still talking it over, still trying to figure it out. But it's certainly been considered. It's an obvious one. It's probably the single most popular optional rule, but that in itself maybe not the reason why we want to put it in there.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Furbo asks, any chance we could hear some of the gear that wasn't in playtest number 3, but we'll still be seeing changes?
Tell them about the Blue Shield PFP.
We did rewrite Blue Shield. There was a few things that
is an example. I think that's a real example, by the way, of what you're saying, Ellie. Share the change of gear that was intentionally hit with the caution bat, as you put it a little hard, because you don't want to create deflector shields in BattleTech, right? Something like a Star Trek style, that could fully make PPCs a very, very common weapon bad. So that was, I think, an example of like, people who play BattleTech a long time and have never, ever, ever heard of that piece of equipment, let alone seen it on the battlefield or played with it. So what's the change?
Well, I mean, in a lot of cases, that one was one of those that's just like there's an enormous amount of text on it. Can we make it easier to use and read it and shrink it down? We were looking at making it use the sort of mask table so that it follows existing rules and it has an escalating chance of breaking down. Mostly the Blue Shield was about just making it easier and moving it into core, because right now it's sort of sitting off to the side, as you're saying. That's less of a change, although even then we started talking about that and you're like, actually, doesn't that just hurt it in another way? So we're still tweaking that one. But something I could say we're pretty sure would go through when we didn't put in the playtest packet would be anti-battle armor pods. So right now they do like 20 damage, I believe it is, but they're really hard to justify because BattleTech, I think, has a problem with passive defenses, things that only work in the right circumstances. I think BattleTech has tended to underestimate that opportunity cost And so we make things that only trigger if your opponent has brought X, probably a little weaker than they should be. Like, when you think about it, you spend the tonnage on that. And then what if they don't bring, you've got AMS and they don't bring missiles. You've got battle armor pods, they don't bring battle armor. So if you're going to take the chance, do the gamble and bring in something like that, it should probably be pretty good, because otherwise, why would I just not take an ER medium laser? Works against everything. You'll never regret having it. You can shoot it underwater. You can do whatever. So we're going to increase the damage to 30 points at least, and do some tests on that. But
Nice.
that's a simple one.
Kalos,
I brought anti-personnel stuff, and it didn't anti-personnel them.
Yeah.
At least to the degree that I would have hoped for the BV that I spent
sure.
on it.
Kalos' gaming table asks, do you all plan to share the data collected from the playtest, like how the players take these rules, like once it's all over and stuff?
No, we're not. No, there's just a pile of forms, and there's just no plans to put that out there, but including people's public addresses and names, because we asked them literally for their email addresses. It would be an absolute mess and an enormous amount of time to sort through.
I was just ranting about this week, wasn't I?
Yeah. No, we cannot do that.
And on a bigger picture, Keith said earlier, some of the feedback is not as simple as a binary yes or no, right? Like, we'll do this, we'll not do this. And maybe we'll do this, but in a different form than was in the playtest, right? We still think the intent is correct, but the execution was, as presented in the PDFs, was not quite right. The risk of putting the data out is that it would be seen as a vote, right? That, well, look, we have the numbers right here that show nobody wants X. Well, it's not as simple as nobody wants X. It's nobody wants X in this form. But it's one of those cases of, it's just, it would create misinformation, miscommunication. People would, I think, even meaning well, draw the wrong conclusions from what they would read, right? Well, this only got an average of 4.7 stars, so we can't possibly include that. Well, what's a star? I mean, it's the generic thing that I put on the survey to give Keith at a glance, read on the feedback. So no.
Okay. All right. Nicholas Callaghan asks, playtest number 3 lists the hit table for most physical this is in here twice. Thanks, mods. Lorcan asks, are there plans to launch a new beginner box at the same time as Total Warfare, or will that come later?
What an interesting idea. What a fascinating concept. Moving on.
Okay. Interesting. This is going to be clipped and all over the internet.
I mean, it's not the first time I've seen that question. It certainly would follow that as we change rules.
Yeah.
A new core book might behoove us to change some of the other core product around it too. So
fair.
Wouldn't shock anyone, I would think.
Tim Lang asks, precision ammo for proto-mech autocannon, please?
Yeah, I don't think they can use that cannon. Well, no, sorry. If they can't already use it, they're not getting it. Yeah.
These are what a niche. What a fantastic. This is what I love. But niche of niche. Why can't you just fix BattleTech? Well, because we're sitting here talking about precision ammo on proto-mech ACs.
Flare LRMs on support vehicles that are motorcycles. I mean, yeah, it's
sure. This is what people like. This is why they come to this game. I get it. Yeah. I get it.
Prussian Havoc, I'm skimming your questions because Bryn was at Essen. I know he did reach out. He is putting together a big update of some sort. I haven't seen it yet. They're still in Europe, but I wasn't able to get some of those questions yet since he's out of town. But I see something about some of the Lev's backers received $6 to $21 in refunds yesterday. Why? I'll have to check with the team on what happened there. So thanks for that, letting us know. Again, best way to do this also is store at catalystgamelabs.com so that it gets routed to the right people and they can get the official answers. And then Wargriz asks, is there a solid date for the retail release of Leviathans? Like I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, the entire release schedule is being looked at and kind of revamped because we have a new sales manager and with shipping and everything like that. So no, not yet. I don't think there's a chance of it happening before the end of this year at this point, but hey, I've been wrong before. So I don't have anything solid for you yet. Are there any other late questions coming in? Oh, Tim Lang, I clicked over to the chat and I just see Tim Lang heartbroken in all caps.
Buddy, if that's the breaking point for you with us, then this is the precision ammo.
Yeah.
I get it. I didn't want to hit on one because somebody just brought it up again. Do we have anyone working on aerospace rules who has an aviation background? With respect, no. We also have no one working on BattleTech who has ever piloted a battle mech before. I grew up in an airport. Does that count? I'm not a pilot myself, but I grew up around stunt pilots. With respect, I mean, it doesn't. I get the intent of the question is, there is a broad stroke of fans who sort of have that like reality simulator approach to BattleTech. You saw it with the side tables where they were frustrated because they felt the chance on if you're on the left to still hit something on the right simulates the movement of a battle mech, right? The actual movement of a battle mech. I use air quotes because I'm real. But I get it. I get the intent, but no, we don't make that a prerequisite for working on BattleTech rules. Have you ever been in the military? Have you ever, driven a tank for the Army? Nothing like that. I mean, I think we all have an interest in history. We all have an interest in military sci-fi to some extent. So,
I mean, I was a military historian before I started doing this really actively. So I taught military history, but it informs some of the broader strokes of what you're looking at. But I'm always saying over and over, it's game first, it's a game first, it's a game first. No one will thank you if you make a realistic piece of crap. So, I mean, they're not mutually exclusive either. Don't want to straw man it, but I do try to focus on gameplay and less on, does this duplicate such and such a sort of military thing. Now, if I'm writing fiction, on the other hand, I do try to bring that in. Like, okay, what is a flanking maneuver actually? I always remember watching Babylon 5, and they were just like, you could just tell whenever the writers needed something that sounded military, someone was flanking somebody. I'm like, what? No, what? So, you try to... Everyone brings in the skills that they have in real life, and in some cases that's engineering background, in other cases it's almost anything, and you see that reflected in their particular take on a fiction or game design.
I would also argue that BattleTech, look, have you read Strategic Operations or Interstellar Operations? We go to a depth. Try using the solar system construction rules sometime and tell me that we are not realistic enough. Like, and I know of very few other games that care about the star type as a metric of how fast you can recharge your jump ship to move to the next battle. And we have rules for that, man. So we have plenty of verisimilitude in the rules as it is without worrying too much about, is the delta V of this fighter correctly reflected in its stats?
Real quick, because I almost forgot. I saw Night Moss at GameholeCon and got my very first Leviathan. So I wanted to share that with you guys. It survived. There's no damage. So thank you so much, Night Moss. It is offensively pink, just as I would hope. I really appreciate it.
I would think that reflects sun. That'd be sort of hard, like a certain dazzle.
I like the purple too. You can't see how rich the purple is very well on here, but it's very nice. Thank you. And then I did see a question too about the tariffs affecting pricing and stuff like that. All of our force packs are still the 30 to 40 or 25 to 40 price range, depending on how many mechs and stuff like that. But at this time, no price changes since we did the ones in the spring. we aren't being reactionary. So like, just because tariffs are 100% today doesn't mean that they're going to be that next week. They could be double, or they could be half, or they could be gone. We just, it's reacting to that is not the best way to do business. So if things continue, it could always be a discussion down the line, but it's not going to be something that we react to at the moment. So,
is it going to affect release dates? Folks are asking.
What was that?
Is it going to affect release dates, timing, getting stuff actually out?
It could. I know that, like, we're trying to move everything out of the past several weeks. There's been conversation about moving everything out of China, like the reprints that we have there and stuff like that. New product and stuff, but it does still take weeks to ship that stuff, and we don't know what that's going to do to product. But I don't think that's going to affect release dates right now, because at least as far as I've heard, there's no pauses to manufacturing. So not yet, but we'll see what happens. Korea and Aces release dates. Aces, I'm getting an updated email from our sales manager for like the next couple of months of what's coming. Korea is not shipped yet, so it's not going to release this year. We were hoping for December, but I think it's going to probably be Jan or Feb. But Aces is here, so it is going to release, or on its way here. So it is going to release either. Our goal was a Black Friday release, but it may be a week or two delayed in December. But it is coming this year, from last I heard. So Aces cannot be used for Classic yet. This box set is for Alpha Strike, but there are going to be more boxes, and it will be coming to Classic. So not yet.
The miniatures can be.
Yes, they can.
Yeah, but it's obviously a lot more of a design headache to adapt in a playable, meaningful sense, with an interesting opponent, all of the nuances of Classic.
Tell it to the 6 million LRMs I'm firing off of that Bane 3 with oblique attack.
Although it'd be pretty funny to watch, like, sort of broken AI try to manage Classic, where it's just got a Bane trying to run up the side of a building or something. Or
we'll get ChatGPT right on.
Well, thank you guys for coming and talking. We'll get you back here for the last playtest, and even maybe once after that for the final kind of retrospective. But really appreciate you guys and being here. Really appreciate you guys for being here. We should be back. We will be back next week, and Quincy and Mike will be with us for the release of the board game that comes tomorrow. And then the following week, I'm pretty excited because I think it's not confirmed, but we should be having Jason Horonsky from XP Network on, and that's going to allow for some organized play, but a little bit different than we usually define it. It's going to be a site that lets you get XP for playing at your local game store, meeting with each other, doing events that you can then use at the XP Network store or on the Catalyst store. So you'll want to come back for that and hear all about that, because that'll be launching early December. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Take care.